It's News Update with your hosts, Thomas Atsef and Fred Moody.
Hello and welcome to News Update. I'm Thomas Atsef.
I'm Fred Moody, and here are some of the latest top stories.
Donald Trump is currently leading the race for the Republican nomination, and to say the least, he is a very polarizing figure. His supporters praise him for being entertaining, speaking his mind, and his I don't care attitude. At one point, a part of almost everyone kind of liked him, and everyone hates that part of themselves. But you know what? Donald Trump is like a hickey. At first you're like, oh, this is pretty cool. And then, after sitting in your bathroom for 2 hours with a cold spoon on your neck, you really start to regret letting it happen. Both Trump, instead of 2 hours, it's 4 years. And instead of a spoon on your neck, it's paying more taxes for a $20 billion wall.
People have begun to compare Donald Trump to a fascist, drawing parallels between him and Adolf Hitler. These comments have caused fascists everywhere to say, come on, we're not that bad.
At one of his campaign rallies last month, presidential candidate Bernie Sanders said that he had only smoked marijuana twice in his life. This came as a shock to his supporters because many of them had already smoked marijuana twice during that rally.
At another rally in Portland last week, a bird landed on Sanders' podium as he was speaking, bringing a literal meaning to what I assume Portlandia has made the city's motto, put a bird on it.
People have begun to accuse Sanders of whitewashing his diverse supporters. This accusation may actually hold some water because, according to a recent report, many of his African-American supporters have started binge-watching Friends on Netflix. But no, obviously, this is ridiculous because Ted Cruz is in second in the Republican race, but all of his supporters don't look like Dracula.
According to a report from OpenSecret.org, Bernie Sanders has raised a total of $140 million for his campaign. In fact, his campaign is now so rich, it will be voting Republican in the election. Supreme Court Justice Antonin Scalia passed away last month, and with his death will come new rulings for several upcoming Supreme Court cases, one of which would determine whether or not to fund a new environmental program, which will now likely be passed. So by dying, Scalia may have unintentionally saved the planet.
Leonardo DiCaprio is reportedly taking some time off of acting, saying he wants to go back to what's really important and spend some quality time with his Oscar.
After the release of Batman vs. Superman, Warner Brothers has begun further advertising their Wonder Woman movie, causing outrage among meninists on the internet. Really? Wonder Woman now? God, they're making female versions of everything nowadays. Hashtag Wonderman.
In other movie news, Disney Studios recently held its annual Investors and Shareholders Conference, which I can only imagine looked like a scene out of The Wolf of Wall Street. After all, last year they released Star Wars: The Force Awakens, which made nearly $2 billion worldwide. Present at this exclusive conference were the company's most valuable stockholders, so think of it like VIP access at a strip club, only it was old white men who were dancing in piles of money.
Also announced at this conference was that Disney will be making a movie focused on the character Han Solo. No one has been cast yet, but don't worry, you'll find out when your 43-year-old uncle starts tweeting from his attic about how much he disagrees with the casting decision.
Steven Spielberg has announced that he will be making an Indiana Jones 5 in 2019. The man tasked with somehow placing Nazis in the 1970s is screenwriter David Koepp. Koepp's biggest Hollywood credit so far is Indiana Jones 4. Good luck with that.
As an April Fool's Day joke last week, Yahoo.com reported that Trader Joe's was shutting down, causing middle-aged moms everywhere to stock up on organic shells and white cheddar mac and cheese. I don't know who this prank was more cruel to, these women who were beside themselves or their kids who, for a brief moment, thought they would be having real Honey Nut Cheerios for breakfast.
On National Women's Day last month, Greta Van Susteren gave American men a shout-out, explaining that it was because they treat women a lot better than the Taliban in Syria. Yeah, everyone treats women a lot better than the Taliban. So aside from every other day, let's make a National Men's Day to celebrate all the American men who do literally nothing. But hey, they're better than the Taliban.
Philadelphia issued an apology to Jackie Robinson last week for the racism he faced there in 1947. Sure, it's too bad it took them 60 years to apologize, but it took the Catholic Church 350 years to accept that Copernicus was right about the solar system, which proves that it takes all teachers a long time to admit when you prove them wrong.
UFC fighter John Bones Jones was recently sentenced to an anger management class following his most recent arrest. But with the nickname Bones and the fact that we had to specify it was his most recent arrest, I'm pretty sure he's been through the class before, and I'm pretty sure it hasn't worked.
During CBS's special selection show for the NCAA tournament, NBA legend Charles Barkley encountered technical difficulties while operating the touchscreen, presenting the rankings. CBS wanted the show to be 2 hours, so they just got together and said, hey, let's just give Chuck a tablet and that'll kill at least 10 minutes.
It was also a sad year for March Madness because it was the last year that Barack Obama did his bracket predictions, which he's done every year of his presidency. But who knows, they might invite him back next year because if Donald Trump is president, he'll probably pick the all-white teams to win, which is not the best strategy for a basketball tournament.
The Golden State Warriors have been the stars of the NBA this season, being led by Steph Curry, who has broken the season record for three-pointers, already making 363 threes this season, which means somehow, over the past year, he's taken more shots in front of black people than the police. That's just impressive.
MLB superstar Bryce Harper recently called baseball a tired sport. Most people agreed with his statement, but then again, most people aren't making $5 million a year playing it. Come on, Bryce, I don't care how slow the games are. If you're making $5 million, it cannot be that boring. I mean, no one has ever won Who Wants to Be a Millionaire and then said, man, you know, that was a really slow episode today. Thank you for watching News Update. I'm Thomas Satsef.
I'm Fred Moody, and we'll see you next time.